enjoy the journey to your goal or dream, because that's where life takes place. So don't forget to look around and smile on your way to that goal.
Welcome aboard to From the Right Seat, the podcast soaring through untold aviation tales and journeys. Join us on a thrilling ride exploring the fascinating world of aviation from the co-pilot's perspective. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to share the adventure with your friends and family, and like and follow us on all social media. On today's episode, we take flight with RaZZ, an exceptional pilot maneuvering the skies in the United States Air Force F22 Raptor. In this high-octane episode, join us as we soar through the clouds and explore the adrenaline-pumping world of aerial mastery. Buckle up for an exclusive journey into RaZZ's incredible adventures, showcasing the unparalleled skill and precision of flying the mighty F22 Raptor. Fasten your seatbelts and prepare for an exhilarating flight alongside RaZZ, the commander of the F22 demo team. Sam Larson, call sign RaZZ, welcome to the From the Right Seat podcast. Thank you for joining me today. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first off, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. I'm the pilot and commander of the F22 demo team. 2023 season was my first year with this team. I've been active duty Air Force for about 8 years. Been flying the F22 for just over 6, and originally from Davenport, Iowa. So after college, been fortunate to fly fighters my whole career, and been flying the F22.
And where are you currently based out of right now?
Currently based out of Joint Base Langley Eustis in Virginia.
So how did you get your start in aviation?
My start was really tied to air shows. So I don't have any military or aviation background in my family. I grew up in Davenport, Iowa, but had a hometown air show and started going when I was 6 months old, all the way through the first 18 years of my life, going to summer air shows, and fell in love with it at a young age. Wanted to be a pilot since I can remember. And starting to talk to pilots from demo teams like Blue Angels, Thunderbirds, single ship demo teams that preceded the F-22, and even the F-22 team. Those individuals set an example that I wanted to emulate, and that kind of set me on my course to pursue a career in military aviation. So that's how I got my start. I attribute it all to air shows for getting me involved in this.
That is so cool. Yeah, air shows are a wonderful thing, and you are now a part of those air shows, and it's really cool, especially the F-22. I know there's a lot of fans out there of the F-22 particularly, so that's why I'm super excited to have you on the podcast, kind of get that out there.
Absolutely.
So with everybody, almost everybody in aviation, particularly the military, what is the story behind your call sign?
I'll give you most of the story.
Okay.
We'll have to do the full story over a beer sometime. But,
Sure.
Most call signs are an acronym. Common misconception is that call signs are cool and chosen by the pilot themselves. They're not chosen by you. Your squadron chooses them, and typically a young fighter pilot will get named on their first deployment or trip with the squadron. So my first trip was to Kadena Air Base, Japan. I was flying with the Alaska F-22's 525 fighter squadron. And the AZZ in my name, it's a lowercase a, capital Z's. That stands for at Kadena, because the ZZ is the tail flash that's on aircraft station at Kadena Air Base. So my acronym stands for at Kadena. And then the R is a whole list of different meanings, but they all stand for at Kadena. And I got named with another individual from my squadron at the same time. He got named Taz, so we were RaZZ and Taz running around the 525 for a while.
That's awesome. What initially inspired you to become the fighter pilot, particularly flying the F-22 Raptor?
So for the F-22 specifically, again, I go back to air shows. I knew I wanted to be a fighter pilot. I went through the Air Force Academy, and as I was going through the academy, aircraft like the A-10 and Strike Eagles were being used extensively in operations at that time, so I thought that'd probably be a cool thing to do. A week after I graduated the Air Force Academy, I went to, again, another air show in the Midwest, watched the Raptor demo, and was completely blown away, and kind of made a promise to myself that I would pursue flying that. Just watching the maneuvers it was doing, kind of feeling the raw power of that aircraft. I thought that was the pinnacle of of flying. And so set my sights on the F22. Again, I attribute that back to a single experience at an air show. And so I went off to Air Force pilot training with the goal of flying Raptors.
So do you get the choice of what you fly or what you want to fly?
So you get to submit a wish list, your dream sheet. So at the end of pilot training, I think we ranked every platform in the Air Force inventories, starting at 1 all the way through the end. And then you get rack and stacked in your class. 1 through, I had, I believe, 26 people in my class. So they rank us 1 through 26. And then there's a bit of luck and timing involved in it as well. Is the aircraft that you want even available in that drop? And so I was very fortunate that I got to go straight to the F-22 from there.
That's awesome. So when you picked the F-22, how long before you were picked for the demo team?
So it ended up being, I would say, from drop night. I found out I was flying Raptors in 2017, and I started flying for the demo team in 2023. You have to be an instructor pilot in order to apply for the demo position. Okay. So when you start out in a fighter, you're just you go to your first squadron non-combat mission ready. Your first upgrade is to become combat mission ready. And then after about a year of being a wingman, you go through a 2-ship flight lead upgrade, and then you're competing basically to go through a 4-ship flight lead upgrade, and then finally the instructor pilot upgrade. And those are long and arduous upgrades that you go through. So it takes about 3 to 4 years, I would say, to become an instructor pilot in a fighter platform. But that is the requirement to apply for the demo job.
Very interesting. Very cool. So let's move away from you for a little bit and into your airplane, the F-22 Raptor. What sets the F-22 Raptor apart from other aircraft you've flown, and what makes it unique in terms of capabilities and performance?
Absolutely. So I have a lot of bias, obviously, because I've really only flown F-22s. But I can tell you, I get to fly against other platforms all the time in the F-22, and that's where it really shines. Being the first 5th generation fighter, the stealth, super maneuverability, sensor fusion, and super cruise, all these attributes that define a 5th gen fighter, the Raptor really ushered those in to the air combat realm. So we get to use those all the time when we're flying against other aircraft. And it, again, it really shines, whether it's dogfighting or beyond visual range fighting. Combining all those capabilities into one platform, it makes it extremely capable in the tactical arena, and then it also just makes it a joy to fly. As a pilot, I tell folks, it's very simple to fly, it's intuitive to fly. It flies like a stick and rudder airplane, even though I'm not mechanically linked to any of the flight controls. The flight control computer and aerodynamic design, combined with the thrust of the aircraft, make it a remarkable machine. And it's simple to fly, doing simple tasks. When you start to do the large force exercises or advanced maneuvering, thinking dogfighting, it takes a lot of experience and practice to really be able to max perform the airplane. And so that's why we spend so much time training to get the experience level to where you can really max perform the aircraft.
Awesome. So what are some of the most challenging and rewarding aspects of piloting the Raptor?
Start off with the challenging, especially starting out as a young guy in the jet, the amount of information that the aircraft can present to you. So that sensor fusion piece, we're talking about all the sensors on the aircraft to include the radar are working federated to present a nice, pretty consolidated picture to the pilot. And that was kind of, again, a new capability that the jet brought in. And that's 360-degree battle space coverage. Wow. So you can quickly decipher friend versus foe, know where good guys are, where the bad guys are. And you have a ton of information on your displays in the cockpit. And when you're traveling above the speed of sound, trying to make decisions very quickly, your brain is really the limiting factor, and your decision-making ability. So again, a lot of long and painful debriefs, not only about your left hand, right hand, what you're doing with the jet, but also just your decision-making and your ability to process information and then make a correct decision off of that. And again, that takes a ton of experience to be able to do that well. So that was one of the most challenging things of trying to speed your brain up to catch up with the jet. The same goes for the dogfighting or flying the demo low to the ground. Just being able to process all of the information and act accordingly. Most rewarding aspects are when you do start to master some of those skills. And you're leading a force ship of F-22s. Again, when everyone's doing their job and doing things right, it is an extremely effective group and a very effective airplane. And then when we get to fight other aircraft, whether it's dogfighting or beyond visual range, you get to really appreciate what the technology of the F-22 allows you to do. And again, sometimes it's pretty eye-watering, and that's really cool to see.
Yeah, and intimidating to some, especially knowing the capabilities of the F-22. That's awesome. And you mentioned a force ship. I've never seen a force ship of F-22s, and I hope to someday.
Yep. It's awesome, and that's our typical fighting force. We'll go out as a force ship. So we train our folks to be force ship flight leads, and then beyond that, the next upgrade is to be a mission commander, where you're controlling not only your force ship, but the entire Blue Air Force package.
Wow. That is awesome. So let's step into the training realm for a little bit.
Yep.
What type of training and preparation is involved in becoming a pilot for a 5th gen fighter like the F-22 Raptor?
So after pilot training, everyone goes through pretty much the same course starting out. And then once you track select fighters, you go through an intro fighter fundamentals course, which is still in the T-38, where you transition to learning how to max perform and fight the aircraft. So that's about a 3-month course to lead into your basic course in the fighter. So F-22 basic course is about 9 months, where you learn the basics and then start to get into the mission sets. Once you're done with those 9 months, again, you show up to your fighter squadron and you basically have to repeat that whole syllabus again to become combat mission ready in that squadron. And the learning never stops. Your job as a wingman for that first, you call it a year or so in a fighter squadron, you're just supposed to be a sponge in the book, studying and then learning from every flight. And then you can continually get challenged with those upgrades, where now you're starting to think about not only what am I doing with my airplane, but now you're going to be trained to lead a 2-ship in training and in combat, and then moving on all the way to the 4-ship and then to become an instructor pilot. So again, fighter communities and the Raptor community spend a ton of time mission planning, studying, and then briefing and debriefing beyond the flying. And again, we don't want to just count on the technology to give us an edge. We want to count on that standard and the pride we take in debriefing mistakes and taking that time to learn to give us an edge moving forward.
So the F-22 is a single seat, is that correct?
It is.
Okay, so how do you go from like flying and training in, let's say, a Texan 2 to an F-22?
So yeah, we never built
simulators that you run, or
it is. Yeah, we never built a 2-seat variant of the F-22. So your first flight is solo. Your instructor pilot is in another F-22, and so you're going to fly as a 2-ship, following that instructor around, and then your first couple of flights, that instructor pilot's basically chasing you through your landings and all that, just to make sure you're doing everything correct. But it's about 2 to 3 flights, I would say, dedicated to just learning the advanced handling of the jet and learning how to take off, land, all that simple stuff. And then you're right into learning how to dogfight it. So it's pretty quick, but prior to ever stepping into the jet, you've gone through a pretty extensive sim syllabus and you've learned the basics. You've also gone through every emergency procedure, which there are a lot. And you've been certified that you're going to be able to handle those emergencies by yourself in that jet.
That's pretty cool, because I don't remember the handle of the person that I seen the other day, but they caught a 2-ship F-16 on a pilot's first solo, landing at one of the air bases. I was like, you know what? I never even thought about how to train for that. How do they train? I was curious if there were 2-seat variants of the F-22 or the F-16. You know, I'm like, oh, it has to be like simulator. So I'm really glad we got to talk about this.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. For both F-22 and F-35, no 2-seat variants. For the 4th gen fighters, F-15s, F-16s, they do have 2-seat variants for training. But yeah, again, it goes back to these jets are not that difficult to fly A to B once you've mastered it in the sim. Once you start getting into the learning how to fight them, that's where it gets really challenging.
Right. So how does the Raptor differ from other aircraft in the Air Force's gambit?
Being the first fifth gen fighter, again, those capabilities we talked about. And then I would say just the speed and maneuverability of it it sets it apart. We're the only aircraft that has thrust vectoring, so some of those maneuvers you get to see during the demo. The reason we are the only combat ready fighter in the world that can do those is really that thrust vectoring, and then these massive flight controls that we have on the jet. So if you get up close to a Raptor on a walk around, you get a real appreciation for just the surface area of those flight controls, how massive they are and how aggressively they move. The stabs on the back of the jet, horizontal and vertical stabs, are in surface area the same size as an F-16 main wing.
Wow.
So really big surfaces, and then you also have the thrust vectoring. So again, when we get to dogfight against other aircraft, you really get to see how impressive the Raptor maneuvering capability is to get you into an offensive position. And then again, fifth gen fighters, thinking Raptor and F-35 with the stealth, those two aircraft work very, very well together in combat scenarios.
Awesome. So how do you train and get chosen to fly for the demo team?
So the hiring message goes out to all instructor pilots at all F-22 bases. So we're thinking Alaska, Virginia, Hawaii. It used to be Florida. That has now moved up to Langley, Virginia. So really 3 bases. You submit an application, a letter of intent as to why you want to join the demo team, all of the standard application paperwork that the Air Force requires. So thinking fitness test, officer performance reports, flying evaluations, all that paperwork gets sent in. And then go through an interview process with leadership and with the previous demo team to see how well you kind of fit and if you have the personality for this team. So my application, I was actually deployed to the UAE when I was applying. So I did all my interviews over video teleconference. But once they go through the interviews and I've looked through your records, they make a decision. So I was very fortunate to get to do this for this past year and this coming season.
That is awesome. So what does your typical mission rotation look like?
So for the demo team, kind of going back to that previous question, it's 21 flight upgrade process where you start out over the water at high altitude, just going through the profiles, learning the maneuvers, then over Langley Air Force Base with step down altitude. So you start with an arbitrary 2,000 foot floor and then step down 500 foot increments all the way till you're flying in relation to the surface for all the altitudes. And then 3 certification rides, Wing Commander at Langley, 50th Air Force Commander, and then Commander of Air Combat Command, the 4-star, is who ultimately certifies you. For our demo currency, I'm required to fly the demo once every 15 days. Obviously, during the season, we're flying at much greater frequency than that, sometimes up to 7 or 8 times in a week, depending on back-to-back shows or week-long shows. So flying the demo quite a bit during the season. And then in the off season as a demo pilot, and sometimes when we have breaks during the season, getting to fly with the combat squadrons at Langley, normal mission sets, still as an instructor, doing our normal day-to-day training. So it's a lot of flying, which has been great. And then just in a normal line squadron, which I was at Langley prior to being selected for the demo team, you're flying about 3 to 4 times a week, a variety of mission sets. Either upgrading other pilots through their 2-ship flight lead upgrades or their 4-ship flight lead upgrades, things of that sort, or just going out on continuation training, combat mission rides. And then we're working in a lot of trips throughout the year and deployment rotations as well. So whether it's the demo team or in a normal F-22 squadron, you're on the road quite a bit, I would say.
So you're based out of Langley. How often do you get to visit home during the airshow season?
It really depends. Sometimes we'll go out and we'll keep the jets on the road for 3 to 4 weeks. So not coming home at all. Otherwise, in between shows where we can just fly out from Langley to the show site and back. Our typical week looks like we depart Thursday morning, are at the show site for practice on Friday, show day Saturday, Sunday, and then come back to Langley on Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, getting ready for the next show, and then back on the road. So I'd say about 2 days a week max, we're back home. And then a lot of times we just stay out on the road for long rotations.
Awesome. Could you share what a typical mission or operation you'd forego with the F22 Raptor looks like?
Absolutely. So our bread and butter is offensive counter-air, defensive counter-air in these large force exercises. So that's kind of what we work our way up to with part task trainer training. We train dogfighting, air combat maneuvering, which are 1v1 or 2 Raptors against, say, 4 adversaries. We kind of work our way up to these where now it's 4 Raptors and we're outnumbered by bandits. So we'll train those frequently, and that's what we would expect to do real world, is we're defending a target from ingressing bandits, or we're going to kick down the enemy's door, which again, the 5th gen capabilities of the Raptor really allows us to be survivable in that scenario. And a lot of times we, again, don't plan to go by ourselves. So we're going to be training with either simulated or real, say, strike aircraft that we're escorting to a target in those offensive counter missions, or we're going to be doing the striking ourselves because the Raptor does have that air-to-ground capability. So those kind of our bread and butter missions that we work our way up to and then train frequently.
Sweet. That is awesome. What are some of the roles this particular aircraft fulfills in the Air Force?
You bet. I mean, it's branded as air dominance fighter. And again, that defensive counter-air, offensive counter-air being the primary missions, we're meant to secure the airspace, whether it's where we're defending something or where we're having to ingress into bad guy land and survive against surface-to-air missile threats and air-to-air threats. We're going to take out, we call it the air picture. We're going to clean that up, and we're going to, again, the goal being we're going to take and maintain that air dominance role to allow other aircraft or forces to do their thing. So we're meant to provide that clear airspace for the rest of the U.S. forces.
Awesome. The F-22 is known for its advanced technology. Are you able to highlight some of the cutting-edge features or systems that make it stand out against others?
You bet. We've touched on some of them. The federated sensors, so a very, very capable radar, but now with the other sensors on the F-22, they're feeding information to the radar, telling it where to look, and making it so that our jet can detect enemy aircraft without being detected itself, which again all factors into this our initial slogan, first shot, first look, first shot, first kill. So the sensors on the jet, again, extremely capable, both offensive and defensive. The speed of the jet, the ability to go supersonic without using afterburner to maintain our on-station time and be able to, again, take those shots at range without being detected. The initial idea is that the F-22 is going to be able to take a shot, continue into towards the merge, have time for follow-up shots, and if need be, arrive at the merge undetected to take out enemy fighters. So that stealth and speed, again, very important. And then if we have to mix it up and get into that within visual range fight, which we expect will happen as we get closer and closer to the enemy, and we start to deplete our missile loadout and have to go and use in our heat-seeking missiles or the gun, is that we're going to be able to out-dogfight the enemy as well. So now using all those maneuvering capabilities that you see during the demo, thrust vectoring, the 70,000 pounds of thrust, the turn capabilities of the jet, all those. With that weapons loadout, again, all internal carried to preserve that stealth. That was another first with the F-22, so 6 missiles in our main weapons bay doors, and then 2 heat-seeking AIM-9X missiles in the side weapons bays, and then an internal gun firing a 20 millimeter at 6,000 rounds a minute. So that is also internally housed in the jet.
Wow. That's got to be a heavy load.
It is. With that being said, though, with a full loadout, with fuel and weapons, the jet weighs about 64,000 pounds.
Okay.
Got 70,000 pounds of thrust, though, from the get-go. So as soon as the gear is in the well, the F22 is an IG-capable fighter. So we can get after it right away.
That is impressive. So what are the most impressive or demanding aerial maneuvers of the F-22 Raptor is capable of performing?
So I would say one of the biggest things to get used to is the post-stall maneuvering capability of the jet. So the airframe is stalled, but you still have complete nose authority in that post-stall regime. Again, because of things like thrust vectoring and because of the fly-by-wire flight control logic of the jet. So we use it in dogfighting. You see it a lot in the demonstration itself. In that post-stall regime, I am making inputs, whether it be through the pedals or the stick, and the jet is basically taking those inputs and very rapidly figuring out what flight control surfaces or thrust vectoring it needs to move in order to produce the effect that the pilot is requesting. So it remains, again, very intuitive to fly in that post-stall regime, which is, again, a testament to the engineers who figured this all out to build such an awesome airframe. But learning basically how to max perform and knowing those flight control laws for degrees of angle of attack and what you're going to get, whether it's yaw or pitch out of the jet, that takes a lot of practice and a lot of learning. And then we want to get to the point where we can do those things and we're looking outside completely, not having to look at the HUD and figure that out, just flying purely off the feel of the jet to know what regime you're in, to make those correct inputs. So that takes a lot of practice, and that's difficult. And then when you get into those extreme maneuvers, having flown only a T6 or T38 up to that point, it's very eye-opening and takes some getting used to.
Thrust vectoring, it's a 2-axis, right? Up and down and left, right?
It is just up and down, so just vertical thrust vectoring. The reason we're able to do the yawing maneuvers that we're able to do is, again, going back to those stabs on the back of the jet, which are massive. The jet's going to asymmetrically deflect those, and that generates a huge yawing moment, which, again, in those post-stall regimes, allows us to yaw the nose to where we need it to be. So didn't need the side-to-side thrust vectoring to get that yaw because we already had it in the flight controls.
Okay. And I think the most impressive thing that I've seen this jet do is that somersault that y'all do. Go up and stall and then just flat spin down and just take control and go off. And it's like, what did I just watch?
Yep, we call that the pedal turn. And I will say that is one of the easiest maneuvers to fly.
No way.
Because you just go up, basically get the jet, again, post-stall. So we call it a high alpha loop because we're pulling to as many degrees angle of attack as we can get from the jet, which we're thinking between 60 and 90 degrees, and then just feeding in a full boot of pedal and lateral stick in that direction, and the jet will yaw. And then to recover out of that, all you have to do is push forward and break that angle of attack, and the jet will just accelerate out of it. So and again, a derivation of something we could use in a dogfighting scenario that there's not much else out there that could try to match that.
Right. Yeah, it's putting the brakes on and getting behind.
Yep.
That's awesome. Can you share any memorable or intense combat scenarios or simulations you've encountered while flying the Raptor?
Yep, I would say I've had a lot of really memorable flights in this jet. One that comes to mind that I was just thinking about the other day, went out and when I was in Alaska, got sent out on a mission to intercept Russian aircraft along the coast of Alaska. So Russian bombers and fighters intercepted them in the northern portion of Alaska, and then intercepted a separate group on the southern portion of Alaska and kind of sent them on their way home. And then had the opportunity, we had extra gas, so got to fly myself and the wingman I was flying with, flying low level through the landscape of Alaska on the way back home from that mission. One of those flights that you dream about, I'd say, when you're a kid, doing ridge crossings over mountains, and then obviously just breathtaking landscape up there with the massive mountains circling Denali, flying over glaciers, beautiful mountain lakes, all those things. Definitely one of the most memorable flights I've had. And then I would say in our day-to-day flying, I've had quite a few where we go out as a 2-shipper or 4-shipper Raptors. And again, when everyone does their job well and we get it done, it's just always very impressive and rewarding to see when we get back to debrief how effective this jet can be.
So going back to the demo team, is there a particular ritual that you follow when you perform?
There is
really not even the demo team, but as a whole, as a squadron together.
Yeah, you bet. In terms of ritual, do you mean in terms of a script we follow when we're flying, or pre-flight?
Not really a script, but like you see these Navy guys on the deck of the carrier, you know, go through their hand signals and whatnot, and their particular hand signals to their crew and whatnot. Go through their like a ritual of, you know, do this, do that before you get on the airplane, you know, got a secret handshake or something like that, you know?
Yeah, you bet. I'd say yes to both. Normal line squadron, after we've done our brief, we have our set of hand signals when we launch the aircraft. That's all standardized. That's something we do every single flight. Everyone's got their own handshakes they do with their crew chiefs. And then for the demo team, it's the same way. I will actually call it chair fly or walk the routine prior to stepping into the jet at least once, if not multiple times. And that's after having kind of tried to visualize it for about the 30 minutes to an hour prior to the flight, just to get my mind in the right spot. But I will go out and choose a spot on the ground that I call show center, and then fly the whole routine, just walking it off of that. And then I'll also try to walk the heritage flight if we're going to perform that as well. And then, everything on the demo ground show, our handshakes, our entire ground show is scripted, so it's the same signals every time. Very regimented kind of ground show prior to actually taxiing the aircraft.
How do you and your team maintain the camaraderie and traditions of what the demo team is?
Absolutely. I will say, so I'm the 8th demo pilot. The demo team's been around since 2007, and I feel like every iteration of team has continued to build upon what was set forth before them, and we're no different. We're trying to build upon the traditions that were built, and then innovate and try to take it to the next level. So hopefully, every iteration of the Raptor demo team, to include this one, and then the team that will follow us, is just going to get better and better. It is a very tight-knit and high-performing team, and we get to hand-select every individual on this team for their specific jobs. So I truly feel like we have some of the very best from their respective career fields. So we've got a wonderful group, and they're, again, all chosen not only for their reputation on the line and their experience, but also for that personality. And then we really look for humility as well. Folks that are going to be able to take feedback and just be very, very humble everywhere we go, humble guests and humble stewards, showcasing what the Air Force is capable of and what their individual job is capable of. So I feel like we have a phenomenal group, and the fact that we're on the road so much, we're very reliant on everyone to do not only their job perfectly, but also to pick up the slack and do tasks or jobs that are outside of what they would normally do in their career field. And that has made this group extremely tight-knit. And we consider ourselves, a small family because we're on the road so much. We're always looking out for each other, and it's been a phenomenal group. And I'm very, very fortunate to call these folks my teammates because they inspire me to be better every day, and they have just done an amazing job.
That's awesome. Very well said. What does your team look like? What does your team consist of? How many members?
So we have one pilot, and then we have a superintendent. So that's Master Sergeant John Lugo for the 23-24 seasons. So he's been has a breadth of experience working on the line, and now he is basically our senior enlisted leader on the team, and he's tackling logistics of all these shows for the 30-plus events we do every year. We have a team chief, again, who's another senior enlisted leader on this team. He's in charge of all maintenance on the team, and then those two also run really our show from the ground of the music, narration, and getting all that stuff set up. We have a public affairs, again, one-man job who travels with us to every show. So the four of us go to every single event, and then the rest of the team, we're able to swap folks in and out. So we have crew chiefs, avionics specialists, and aircrew flight equipment all on this team. And again, they do their specific job for the team. And then by virtue of the fact that we're such a small team, we always have other tasks for them to do, whether that's mingling with the crowd at our merchandise tent, meeting folks, or just handling the logistics for the team. There's always a lot of tasks that they're doing outside of their career field. But 14 total folks with four individuals who go to every single show.
Wow. Do you have a maintenance team on the road?
We do. Yep. Those are the crew chiefs and avionics specialists. They are our maintenance team. And then again, our team chief oversees that maintenance, and our superintendent oversees the logistics of all those operations. So if we're on the road, we don't take much with us. These folks either drive with a trailer to the shows, or they're flying commercial and lugging 30 Pelican cases of gear through the airport. But if we break on the road, we have 2 aircraft everywhere we go. I've seen them make miracles happen, which has been really impressive. And to include, if we say need a fuel pump, we'll call back home to a team member. They'll go pick up the pump from the units, and within an hour or two be on a flight to our location. And then we're swapped out and we're flying again the next day. So it's awesome to see them at work on the road, and we've never had to cancel a demonstration for maintenance because they always have the jets ready to fly.
How many jets do you have on the team?
So we actually have no jets for the team. It's one of the unique attributes of the Raptor demo team. We just borrow. So a lot of times we're borrowing jets off the Langley line, and we won't even know which jets we're getting until Thursday morning when we're stepping into the aircraft and like, all right, here's your 2 tails for the weekend. We'll borrow them. When jets were down in Florida, we'd borrow from there. We borrow from Nellis, where we have a handful of F22s. We borrowed from Hawaii and Alaska as well. So it's awesome that we're able to do that. Every time you see an F22 demo, you're seeing a jet that was just pulled off the line of a combat unit, flown in the demo, and then returned back to that unit. And for our maintainers, every single week they have to learn the history of a jet, learn a new jet, and figure out if they need to fix anything. So it keeps them busy. And again, they do a remarkable job, and they take pride in returning those jets in better condition than we found them.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it keeps the jets in perfect working condition as well.
Yep, absolutely.
That's so cool. Well, what's it like inside the cockpit of the F-22 Raptor? Is it one of these airplanes that you wear?
It is. I would say absolutely. It's an airplane that you wear. It's a lot of folks ask, I'm tall, or would I fit in that cockpit? Absolutely. It is a spacious cockpit. It's a big airplane. And then they've streamlined the cockpit in these 5th gen fighters. So previously, when you look at a jet, all kinds of gauges and switches and circuit breakers everywhere. In the F-22, that's not the case. You have 5 screens, and there's 20 plus options for each screen, so you can customize these displays quite a bit. And then we've got the throttles on the left, stick on the right, and there's about 13 buttons on each of those, and it's designed so that you never have to take your hands off the throttle and stick. To do all the things you'd have to do in day-to-day flying, and to do everything you need to do in combat flying, you can manipulate the aircraft with those buttons. while hand flying the aircraft. And then we've got the heads-up display, which is really where most of our information lives, where I spend most of my time looking when I cross-check back into the cockpit flying the demo. We've got everything we need in that heads-up display. So, and then for switches, there's not a lot going around the cockpit. Most of it, again, is on the stick and throttle. So it's a very, very good cockpit layout, I would say. We do not wear the fancy helmet like the F-35, where all the information is in your visor. We still use that heads-up display. But again, I like the layout a lot. Again, I'm biased because it's all I've flown. Right. But I think they did a phenomenal job in the cockpit design of the Raptor.
That is awesome. So how does the interface and control systems compare to other aircraft?
I would say, again, they knocked it out of the park with the intuitive nature of flying the jet. A common misconception is that a lot of things are automated in the Raptor. So you hit a button and the jet does something for you. It's all hand flown. We don't really have any autopilot. We don't have auto throttles. The only thing we have is an altitude hold, which kind of works. But otherwise, you're always hand flying the aircraft. And then the navigation, like when we're flying these jets cross country, is very, very basic. So doesn't have all those Gucci features that you might expect when you see the price tag of it. And that's because all that money went into the aerodynamic design of the jet and all the tactical systems on the jet. So with that said, again, flying it is just an absolute joy because they did such a great job with that design of going from the cockpit to the flight control computers and then to the engines and the overall airframe. Again, I don't know if we'll ever make a jet quite like the Raptor that can move like it does and that flies as well as it does.
Totally agree. So one odd question that I have that I just came up with just before the interview, I've always been curious why the canopy is gold in color.
Yeah, you bet. It is not gold when you're sitting inside, so still have the clear view, but what that is a filament that goes over the canopy to maintain the LO of the jet, so the low observable. And every inch of the jet has to maintain that stealth profile. So that's why everything's internally carried. That's why all the angles are designed as they are. And then the entire aircraft is coated in a radar absorbent material to further increase that stealth capability. And the cockpit is the same way. So that gold you see is filament in order to maintain the stealth of the jet.
Moving into like the impact and legacy of the Raptor, in your opinion, what impact has the F-22 had on modern air combat tactics in the future of aerial warfare?
That's a great question. Being the first 5th-gen fighter, I believe it ushered in a new era of air combat capability that other nations and adversaries are still trying to match to this day. Think about F-22 initial combat operational in around 2005. And I wasn't flying Raptors obviously back then, but I get to hear the stories, grossly overmatching any threat or conceivable threat at that time. Obviously, other folks don't like that when we have a jet that so grossly overmatches what they have. So folks are trying to catch up, and it's pretty amazing still to this day in 2023 that this jet's still considered the top of the food chain, if you will, when it comes to the air combat domain. So again, I think it really ushered in that 5th-gen stealth fighter aircraft into the combat arena and forever changed the tactics and what folks throughout the world are trying to aspire to when they're fielding aircraft. And I think the F-22 in that time has acted as a phenomenal deterrent to our potential adversaries as far as what they're willing to do when they know that they might have to face off against a squadron of F-22s.
Very well said. So how do you envision the role of the F-22 Raptor evolving in the coming years?
I will say that they are continuing to upgrade and innovate what is on this jet, both to keep the Raptor at the top for the foreseeable future, and to start to look into technologies that we can build and what will eventually replace the F22, which is a tall order, because when you think about what the F22 did when it came out, again, completely changed kind of air combat and air combat tactics. So now they're going to look to do that again sometime in the future. But the F-22, offensive, defensive capabilities, as well as technologies on the jet, are continuing to evolve and continuing to be upgraded so that we continue in our attempts to outpace any potential adversaries in the world.
Very nice. So let's move back into you for a little bit. What continues to fuel your passion for aviation and flying this remarkable aircraft?
The current job I'm in has been by far probably some of the most rewarding times in my career and in my life. Getting to get out and inspire folks, getting to talk to folks, and share this aircraft and the excitement that it brings, as well as getting to really see that inspiration take hold in the youngsters we get to talk to. I find that extremely rewarding, because I was one of those kids back in the day coming to air shows. And so that has been incredibly rewarding and really a pinnacle of my flying career up to this point, getting to do that. So that keeps myself and our entire team extremely motivated. And we get that at every show we go to, which has been awesome. And then I'll also say, just getting to work with this team. This has been such a unique job and unique mission that we have, where we go out with those two aircraft and such a small team. And getting to work with those folks, again, has just been such a phenomenal experience, and it really gets me fired up and excited every chance we get to get on the road. It's just been such an amazing experience, because I'm getting to work with such amazing people.
What advice would you give to aspiring pilots who dream of flying advanced fighter jets like the Raptor?
So I think the biggest things, work ethic, attitude, and humility, are usually the things I preach to get you anywhere that you want to go. And we always tell folks, depending on the age and where they are in life, go out and envision yourself accomplishing that goal someday. Give yourself a few minutes to think about that, and then come back to the present and think about what you need to do right now in your life and in the near future to set yourself up for that goal, and allow that goal or dream to influence your decision making and influence your work ethic as you go. We always tell folks, grades, finding things outside of school that you enjoy, and working hard in those will make you a well-rounded individual and open doors for you in the future. And that's really, I think, should be the goal, is to arrive at a point in your life where you have doors open for yourself, where you can make decisions as to what you want to do, and your previous efforts and hard work are going to basically open those doors for you. With the attitude, just always having a good attitude, and then a humble work ethic, being willing to accept mentorship and feedback is incredibly important to get you where you want to be. So those are kind of the things that we harp on when we're talking to folks who aspire to do something like this someday, or have another big dream or goal. And then we always caveat all that with enjoy the journey to your goal or dream, because that's where life takes place. So don't forget to look around and smile on your way to that goal.
Very well said. So in our conclusion here, what are some things to look out for in the upcoming 2024 airshow season?
So we're extremely excited to get back on the road. We've only been off the road for a few weeks now, and we're already itching to get back. We're going to continue to try to innovate this team, both in the flying and what we do on the ground. And we're already looking at about 24 events for 2024, and we're looking to add to that throughout the season. We just did about 32 events in 23. We'd like to match that.
Wow.
Because we love getting to share this aircraft, and we love this mission of inspiring folks to set goals for their lives. We are looking at some changes to the demo. Can't promise anything, but we'll see as we try to, again, innovate what we do, with safety being obviously the number one priority when we go out and fly these demonstrations. We'll continue to be dropping flares on our demos wherever we can. And then our whole team is looking forward to the opportunity to meet folks all around the United States and around the world in 2024.
I'm looking at your schedule right now. It looks like you're going to your hometown there in July.
That's right. I think they've got us there June 22nd.
June.
Yep.
Yes, 22nd, 23rd. Yep, that's awesome. And the one really cool show that I see on there is Geneseo. Actually, I'm from upstate New York, so you get to see a lot of big fans up there.
Excellent.
I know that for sure.
We're looking forward to that one.
Yeah, and then obviously Oshkosh, going to AirVenture again this year.
Yep.
Did y'all go last year as well?
We did.
This year, I should say.
We did,
Yeah.
and we had an absolute blast. One of our favorites, and we were very, very excited to see that back on our schedule for this year.
Any new collaborations to look for this year?
We'll see. Can't promise anything, but we're definitely working on that, especially in the off season. We definitely have some stuff in mind, so I would say keep your eyes peeled for some exciting stuff in 2024.
Sweet. So besides the F-22, what's your favorite airplane to fly?
That's a good question. Being that the F-22 is the only fighter I've really flown in the Air Force, obviously that's the top pick, but I've done a fair amount of GA flying, especially in Alaska, and I really, really enjoyed flying bush planes and float planes. And I would say float flying is some of the best flying I've been able to do. So I love any chance I get to fly a float plane. I think that's just very blissful flying. Outside of that, I love World War II warbirds, whether it be just watching them at air shows or getting up close to them. And this past year was my first time flying in a P-51 Mustang, and
Sweet.
Absolutely loved that. So if I had a dream aircraft to fly, I would definitely probably say a World War II warbird. I would love to get
Awesome.
to fly that.
Would you like to share your socials and how can people connect with you?
Absolutely. Best place would be just look up F22 Demo Team. And really any social media, Instagram, Facebook, all of those. That's the best way to keep up with the team. And our PA is doing a phenomenal job sharing stuff from every show we go to, and then in the off season covering our practices and kind of look back to all the stuff we did this past year. So if you want to keep up with the team, there's a plethora out there. Just looking whatever social media platform you so choose.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I really appreciate your time and allowing me to be on this podcast. I always love getting to talk about the team and the jet. And again, really appreciate your time and thrilled to be here.
And I appreciate your time, Raz. And finally, one more question, and it seems to be the hardest across the board so far. A question that I ask all my guests: if you had a song to walk to your plane to, like the batters of MLB to the plate at home, what would it be and why?
Oh, this is great. So we use quite a few actually, especially during these demos. We'll play some pump up music, but one that I love, which is kind of out of left field, but we'll play "Last the Mohicans" as our pump up music, getting ready to go. And they actually used to use that in the F-22 demo. Kind of the songs they played. So that's where I first heard it when I first saw that Raptor demo back in the day. And ever since then, it's gotten me fired up, and we still play it as pump up music now, getting ready to go fly. So "Last the Mohicans" is my answer.
Well, Raz, that concludes it for me. I appreciate your time today on a beautiful Sunday here in Texas. I don't know about over there where you're at, but I appreciate your time, and we hope to see you in the 2024 air show season. If you'd like to get a hold of Raz and the F22 demo team, just the best place to get them at is you can see their full schedule on jble.af.mil, and you can search the F22 demo team. You can also see them on Instagram at F22 demo team, and look for them in the skies over some of the biggest air shows in the country coming up in 2024. Raz, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and appreciate your time, and looking forward to seeing you out there in 2024.
All right. Thank you, sir. As we prepare for landing, we extend our gratitude to Raz for guiding us through the exhilarating world of piloting the F22 Raptor for the United States Air Force. Remember to keep your eyes on the skies and your dreams soaring high. If you've enjoyed this aviation adventure as much as we have, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and share the excitement with fellow aviation enthusiasts. Your support fuels our passion to bring you more high-flying stories and adventures. Until our next flight, blue skies and tailwinds from the Right Seat Podcast.